Hey everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at the drawer system and sleeping platform that I use with my 200 series Toyota Land Cruiser. First, a little bit of background. I've owned this Land Cruiser for about a year. Prior to purchasing it, I owned a 100 series Land Cruiser. That vehicle was worth significantly less than this one. It wasn't nearly as nice, of course. So when it came to that one, I didn't put a lot of money into the modifications that I made to it. This one, on the other hand, when I bought it, I vowed to do things the right way, even if it meant spending a little bit more. And while my philosophy when it comes to modifications is more lightweight, minimalist, I did want some kind of drawer system and sleeping platform for this vehicle, just because it makes organization so much easier when you're on trip. So in researching drawer systems, I came across a company called Air Down Gear Up. They build this system, and what's unique about this system is that it consists not only of a platform and drawers, but it actually has an extension that folds out and allows you to sleep in the back of the vehicle. Now, back when I had my 100 series Land Cruiser, I built a platform that was very similar to this one, but of course I was building it with my own two hands, so it wasn't nearly as nice. Fast forward to my new philosophy of doing things right, I was drawn to this platform because it functions in the same way as my old one, and it's just really nice. So on that note, let's take a tour of this system, because it really is a system. It consists of 5 different things, and then we'll talk a little bit more about my experiences with it. In full disclosure, before we get started, I should add that after identifying this as the platform system that I wanted, I reached out to these guys and they offered this to me at a discount, given that this is what I do for a living. So while I didn't pay full price for this thing, I have paid for it by putting a lot of time into working with it and reviewing it. So as I mentioned, this platform system comes from a company called Air Down Gear Up. They are a small startup based in the Boulder, Colorado area. The founders are Land Cruiser enthusiasts themselves, first and foremost, and it's my understanding that after recognizing a need for something like this, they've taken it upon themselves to design and market this system themselves. So I like that this is made in the USA by 4x4 enthusiasts and Land Cruiser enthusiasts in particular. Anyway, though, I mentioned that this system is comprised of 5 different things. They are the platform itself, the drawer system, these panels on the drawer facings that Air Down Gear Up refers to as beauty panels. Then on the sides of the panels, there are dividers so that when you pull these drawers out, your items stashed over here on the side don't fall into the path of the drawer. And then the 5th and final component is this fold-out sleeper platform. So let's first go through each component individually. So the first thing here is the platform itself. It is comprised of Baltic birch that is stained, I believe they refer to this as ash, but it's really a black color. You can see some of the wood grain through it, but it's a black finish on this thing. And it's really made up of one big panel here, another one here, and then over on the side, there are these wings that have hinges so that you don't lose access to your side storage here. So this kind of makes for another convenient compartment. I've got some tools over here on this side. And then the arms for the platform are made up of aluminum 80/20. Some other interesting bits. You do get 4 D-rings, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're really big on making sure that none of this setup here rattles. And the way they keep these D-rings from rattling are via these carbon fiber 3D printed anchor points. I don't really know what to call them. I think they call them ramps on the website, but they create kind of a smooth rollover surface. And then so that the D-ring isn't rattling around when you're on a bumpy road, it just folds down into there pretty well, actually. I've done a lot of off-road driving with this platform, and never once has one of these guys rattled loose. A couple other things to mention. The way this platform anchors in, maybe I can kind of show you here. Up front, well, not really. Right here, there is a metal tie-down point. Well, maybe I can do this. We'll get to the drawer system in a minute. But the way it anchors down, you can see back there, there is a D-ring into, I don't know how you describe that, but it's an eyelet and a hook that has thread on it, and you can add tension. And then in the back here, there is this metal piece. I think it's, pretty sure that's aluminum. And what you do is you remove the D-ring that comes in the cargo floor of the Land Cruiser, and then you screw this piece down into the hole previously occupied by the D-ring, and that serves to anchor this thing in place really, really well. You can slide it to position it once it's attached here. And overall, it's a pretty clever solution that leverages the robust hardware points already in the floor of the 200 series Land Cruiser. So next we'll move on to the drawers here. As you can see, I have two of them. This one is empty, so we'll show how much space is in here. So they're pretty big actually, and then they come with these dividers that are kind of fun. They have mountain peaks carved into them. I've got three right here, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 different storage areas, and you can move them around if you like. You can take them out, of course. I've used this system on 3 occasions, one of which was a roughly 2-week trip down the Baja Peninsula. And the drawer system and the dividers were just really, really nice for organization. We were able to put most of our food and consumables in here. So we had like paper towels, toilet paper, plastic bags. Here we had snacks and things. We had some toiletries, Bluetooth speaker, our books, some additional snacks. And then we have 2 dogs, so we kept dog leashes and bowls in this section. It was just really nice to be able to slide it out when you need it and then put it away when you don't need it. The drawers are on these drawer slides, and they do lock into place. So they have these blue handles on them. This one locks, this one does not lock, but to get them out, you just pull down on that, and then it locks in the out position as well for in the event that you have to open these when you're maybe parked downhill. And that keeps them from closing when you don't want them to close. Over on this side, I've left it full just so I can kind of demonstrate what you can fit in here. So we will start from the back. And again, this is full from when I took it to Baja. So I've got a lot of tools and a lot of recovery gear in here that I may or may not take on camping trips closer to home. But back here, I've got recovery gear and some more equipment. I've got an air compressor. I've got a first aid kit. These are my burlap sacks that I was going to use in place of traction boards. I've got some anchor points, some gloves, window cleaner, things like that. You can see I've made this section a lot bigger than the others just because I have some of the bulkier things in here. This area I have a tool bag and some duct tape. Here we've got all of our cookware and tableware. So I've got my pots and pans, some dishes. I've got like a beer glass there, and then some spices, and then some utensils down there. And here I've got fuel, a couple different kinds, and then soap, bug spray, aluminum foil, paper towel, and some other things. So between these 2 drawers, I was able to eliminate 2 big Rubbermaid containers that we typically bring with us and a few food bags. So whereas prior to this system, I would have had everything just kind of packed into the cargo area here in a way that I would have had to take things out in order to get to things. It wouldn't have been tied down. It would have all been visible. It wouldn't have been covered like this. Having these drawers was amazing. When I first installed the drawers, I was a little worried that they were going to take up more space than they were worth. But now that I've taken them on a few trips, it just makes it so much easier, not only to just get in the car and go, but I find that 2 or 3 days into a trip, it starts to stress me out how messy the vehicle can get. And this just made that a thing of the past. Drawers function pretty well. They're pretty smooth. I've had to kind of mess with these on a couple of different occasions. The slides themselves are pretty good. They're not perfect, but they're actually functioning really nicely here. There, this one's in the lockout position. This one gets a little bit finicky. Sometimes it locks. I don't know that it's doing it here, but the drawers themselves, A+. The slides, you may have to mess with them a little bit. Anyway, though, on to the other things. Since I've already demonstrated the drawers, let's talk again about the cargo dividers. You noticed that I have some things stashed over here underneath these wings. And if I would have pulled the drawer out without a divider here, say like this propane canister and this fire extinguisher might have rolled into the path of the drawer. So that's why these white plastic dividers exist, to make sure that things that are over here stay over here rather than getting in the way of closing the drawer. That is the third part of this five-part system. The fourth part we should touch on are these beauty panels. You can kind of think of them as finishing facings, beauty panels, whatever, but they are these two plastic pieces here. It's really kind of 4 different parts. So you got this wing here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you'll notice that there are hinges on the back side here. So they allow you to access things that are stuck back here from this side, and then of course you can access from there. But this consists of these hinges. These are also 3D printed carbon fiber. They're the way, you can't really, there you go. That's the way the hinges attach to this facing here. And then these two big panels just finish off the look. And I really appreciate this metal and plastic look here. There's the air down, gear up logo, air down, gear up. And yeah, from afar, gives the whole system a really clean look. I like the way the black system looks up against my white Land Cruiser here and up against the dark finish. This is actually brown, but overall it gives the whole cargo area a nice cohesive appearance. And then the fifth and final part of this system is this fold-out sleeping platform. I think I mentioned that when I had my 100 series Land Cruiser, I built a sleeping platform. It didn't have any drawers, but it was basically a platform with a fold-out extension that allowed me to fold down the second row seat backs when I got to a campsite, extend the extension, and then sleep back here. So it fit 2 people and 2 dogs. And the reason I needed to have the second row in place at times, like when I was driving to my campsite, is because I have 2 dogs and they needed to ride in the second row. So knowing that I needed the second row to stay in place, but wanting to also be able to sleep in the vehicle rather than having to sleep in a tent on the ground, because that gets old really quickly. I knew that any platform or drawer system I had, I wanted it to have some kind of fold-out platform, and that's what drew me to this SS1 system here, is that these guys designed exactly what I had handmade for my old Land Cruiser. So let me demonstrate how this works. We will go around to the back seat, and please ignore the fact that I am missing the 40 side of my 60/40 back seat here. Just pretend that there's a seat there. But to deploy the platform, you would put down this side, and then of course you'd put down the other side if it was there. And then actually we'll do this from here. It's on a hinge, so it's a piano hinge here, and then there's a piano hinge here. And the reason there are 2 hinges, is that if this was all one piece, it wouldn't clear the ceiling of the vehicle. So the fact that it's 2 pieces means that it can actually fold out like this, and then you've got a sleeping platform. So then you just climb in here, and there's plenty of room. I prefer to lay in this one with my head toward the tailgate and then my feet toward the front of the vehicle. And yeah, I'm about 5'10", 5'11", and you can see I've got enough room. And then, yeah, you could close the hatch, close the tailgate, and you're good. My old Land Cruiser had a handle right here that made this a lot easier. Unfortunately, the 200 series has an electronic release, so I come in through the back door or the second row door. But in the 100 series, you'd have a handle right here, and you'd have really easy ingress and egress through the rear hatch. You can buy an aftermarket solution for this that uses OEM parts, but anyway, though, sleeping back here is nicer than sleeping in a tent. Still not the best, but for people who like to do things the quick and easy and simple way, this is a pretty nice solution. So there's a tour of the full SS1 system. Let's now talk a little bit about my experiences with it. They shipped this to me from Boulder. I'm in Salt Lake, so it took a day or 2 to get here. It arrived, I think, in 3 rather large boxes. There was a 4th smaller box as well. Pretty easy shipping. I believe they charge about $200 for shipping. As set up here, this system would cost about $2,000. Add in about $200 for shipping, and then maybe 6% for local sales tax. But that's for everything here. You can buy everything individually as well. I believe the platform costs about $800. Each drawer costs about $500, and between the dividers and adding the sleeping platform, that's how you get to that $2,000 figure. As far as weight goes, keep in mind with the 200 series Land Cruiser, 98% of them were sold in the United States with a 3rd row, meaning that Toyota measures payload with that 3rd row in place. So you remove the 3rd row, as I obviously have done here. Land Cruiser's payload is rated at 1,585 pounds with that 3rd row. Remove the 3rd row, each seat weighs 42 pounds, so you're looking at 84 pounds gained back. And then this system weighs... The whole system weighs 144 pounds, and I weighed everything myself on my bathroom scale before I installed it. So you gain back 84 pounds by removing the 3rd row seat, and then you install this, and it weighs 144 pounds. That means your net weight penalty when it comes to payload is only 60 pounds. So 1,585 minus 60, that means you still have 1,525 pounds of payload to work with from a 200 series Land Cruiser if you install a full SS1 system. So not that this system weighs much more or much less than competing drawer systems. Payload's just something that's worth keeping in mind. It's best to keep the weight of a vehicle as low as possible. So installing something like this, you get a sleeping solution and an organizational solution, and having the platform itself is pretty nice as well. So it has a lot of benefits for only a 60-pound weight penalty. As for installation, Air Down Gear Up does offer installation at their facilities in Boulder, and sometimes I wish I had taken them up on that. On a few occasions, I've had to go back in and tighten things that have come loose. Maybe a little bit of thread locker in certain areas would have gone a long way. But in total, assembling this thing, it's like a big erector set for adults. I moved at a leisurely pace, and it took me most of a Saturday and part of a Sunday as well. Things get a little bit painstaking. The 80-20 rule applies. 80% of it takes 20% of the time, and then the remaining 20% takes up 80% of your time. Everything is done with 3 different size hex wrenches. It's all pretty straightforward. The hardware is all really good quality. I did run into an issue with a bolt that wasn't going in properly. The bolt was a little bit defective, and same with one of these 3D printed carbon fiber D-ring attachment things, and they shipped replacements out to me in less than a week. So that went pretty smoothly, and yeah, overall installation was 80% fun, 20% frustrating. But once I had it in place, it was really cool to step back and look at it. So I've used this thing now on 3 different trips. The first was a 2-night just kind of camping trip into the Wind Rivers in Wyoming. The second was the big trip that I really wanted to have this thing for, and that was driving the extent of the Baja Peninsula. In total, that was about 4,000 miles, and took 12 days. And then the third time was just a camping trip down to southern Utah. The first time we used this with the sleeping platform, and then for Baja, I swore I'd never do this, but I bought a rooftop tent. And we didn't need the sleeping platform anymore. So the nice thing is you can just remove it. It's just held in by a bunch of bolts on that piano hinge there. And then not needing the sleeping platform anymore, sleeping extension weighs 18 pounds. So at that point, the whole system weighs, what's that, 125 pounds. So you gain back a little bit of weight there. But yeah, that's the nice thing is you don't necessarily need to use the sleeping extension to have this thing and to gain the other benefits of the platform and the drawers. So in total, I think if you're interested in something like the SS1 system here, I know a number of different companies make drawer solutions for these vehicles. This one is offered for the 80 series Land Cruiser, the 100 series Land Cruiser, the 200 series, and then the 5th gen 4Runner, and they just rolled out a solution for the Lexus GX 460 as well. And I'm sure it's in their plans to introduce options for different vehicles. This thing's all made in the USA. I appreciate the unique design. I appreciate the ingenuity of the sleeping platform here. And I just think it's a really nicely put together system. So that is a review of the SS1 here from Air Down Gear Up. They're on Instagram. I'll put a link to their page in the description of this. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to offer up objective thoughts and opinions on this thing. Overall, I do think it is pretty good. And yeah, feel free to let me know what you think. Send any questions my way. Thanks for watching.